Hi, I'm Beth from Sew Country, and I just wanted to do a really quick video for a pouch that is actually from Lauren Mormino. This is her clear carry-all. I'm going to link to her video in my description. I have to make a few Easter gifts, and so I needed something really quick and cute that I could put some candy and toys in, and I found this and thought this would just be perfect. It comes together really quick. It's got minimal, materials to use, and so I thought it would look good to give to the kids that I will be seeing on Easter. So let me show you what you need to make this, and we will get it done really quick in case you need a gift to give for someone on Easter also. Okay, the supplies I'm using a zipper tape, one zipper pull. I'm using 2 pieces of jelly vinyl. I'm using 1 zipper tab. How I got the zipper tab was just from when I boxed the corners. I kept one of the little squares, and that's going to be my zipper tab, so you can do the same thing with yours. I have 2 pieces of clear vinyl. This is TPU, but you can use PVC in this pattern. It works just as well. And then I also have 4 pieces of fabric, and I'm using both the same for the interior and the exterior. Just to save myself time, I just stacked them up and cut them out. I did only interface this with Pixie Light. It is a little soft that way. I'll show you. You can see how it can kind of mush down. If you wanted to use the Pixie Premium, if you wanted to use a Decaville Light, anything, or even fleece, you could use any of those things to give it a little more stability if you felt you needed it, but I didn't. This is for kids. I'm going to have candy and toys in there, so I felt like it was going to be fine as it was, and I just wanted it kind of simple and easy. So that is the only things we need, those pieces. Now, in Lauren's video, in her description, she gives you the measurements she cuts out for the fabric and the vinyl. The technique that I'm using for the zipper is just a little bit different. It's the same technique that is in the Hills Handmade Southeast Travel Pouch. I'll have my video for it linked in the description as well. So that's the only pieces we need to get started. So let's go ahead and put everything together and make this quick pouch. So the first thing we will do is we will start working on our front and our back. So our clear vinyl will be at the top, and then I have my fabric that will be at the bottom just orientated the way I want it to look at the end. So what I'll do now to sew these together is I'll just flip it up. So since my print is directional, I will flip it up and it'll be upside down. And then I'll do the same for the lining. So you can see my lining is orientated the way I want it to be, the right direction, but I'm going to flip it upside down too. So I'm just making and I'll show you how this will look. I'm just making a sandwich with that vinyl, and I'm going to clip it along the edge that I will sew. Seam allowance is not important as long as you're consistent. So if you have a preferred seam allowance, that's what you would want to sew with. I'm going to use 1/4 of an inch, but feel free to do whatever you want. So let's just do a double check to make sure everything looks good. This will be the right direction there, the right direction there. Everything's correct. So now I'm just going to sew along this line, along this bottom edge, and I'll make sure I backstitch and use a consistent seam allowance. So now that we have that sewn together, what I will do is I will just flip those wrong sides together and pull it down. I usually like to put a clip or 2 in place here at the side and the bottom because it tends to want to creep up. And so this will help me while I'm doing my top stitching. So now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to top stitch all along this edge, and I'm going to do it about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge we just sewed, and that will keep that secured, and that will finish this, and then I'll repeat these same steps for the other side as well. After top stitching, the next thing we need to do is we need to cut out the bottoms for so we can box the corners. So it really doesn't matter how big of the square you cut out. You can do 1 inch, 1.5, 2, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and do 1.5 on these, so you can cut that out now. And then what I found anytime I'm working with a couple layers is it's always best to baste around this so everything stays kind of together and it's easier to box those corners. Also, I'm going to let you know that I'm leaving this bag as raw edges inside. Let me show you what that looks like. You can see there is a little bit of raw edges in there. If you can see the bottom, you could bind this if you wanted, but where this is interfaced and I'm trimming down the seams, it's for kids. I feel okay leaving that little bit for raw edges, but if you don't like it, you definitely could use a non-fraying material like a cork or a vinyl here, waterproof canvas, any of those things to kind of take care of that if that's a concern for you. So I basted around all of the edges, and so now I'm going to do this for the other piece, the back piece, and then we'll start working on our zipper. So for the zipper, I'm going to go ahead and add my zipper pull now, and then what I'll do is on one end of the zipper, I'm going to have the zipper tab. It's going to be a very skinny zipper tab because I'm using just the scrap piece that I'd gotten from boxing out the corner. And then on the other side of the zipper, I'm going to turn down the edges 90-degree angle. And the reason why I'm going to do this is just so I can get a little bit better of an opening whenever I have this bag. The zipper tab takes away a little bit of the opening, so this just lets the pouch open a little bit wider. But you can easily do zipper tabs on both ends if you prefer that method. So what I do is I just kind of pull these teeth down while pushing the tape up. Put a clip there, and then I'm just going to sew this in place. I'll use my stiletto to kind of hold. I'll feed it this way, and I'll use that stiletto to kind of hold that tape in place. And I don't go over the teeth, I just go right up against them, and so that way there's no shifting there. Now I will go ahead and trim down the extra teeth and threads that are hanging off there, and then I'm also going to add the zipper tab. So what I did was I just took that square, folded it in the middle, folded the raw edges to the middle just like a piece of double fold tape. I'm just going to slip that in there, and then I'm just going to top stitch across that folded edge 1/8 of an inch away. And then I will trim up the little bit of extra on the zipper tab. Now, the next thing I'm going to do for this zipper is I'm going to add a layer of double-sided tape. Usually I don't use it. Usually I think it's harder to work with double-sided tape, but whenever it helps, I'm all about it. I just feel like lots of times it's more of a hindrance instead of a convenience, but for this pattern I feel like it really helps. So I'm going to use 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape and apply it down both of the long edges. So let's go over what pieces we have left. We have our 2 pieces of jelly vinyl. We have our zipper with the ends folded down and a zipper tab on it and double-sided tape on both long edges. Also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but the measurements for the tape are given in Lauren Mormino's video in the description, the one I have linked in my description, so you can find that there. So we have that prepped. We have both our front and our back prepped. I have the corners cut out, and I have everything basted along the edges. So now it's time to put everything together. This is going to come together super quick. So I'm going to lay down one of my panels. Make sure your vinyl is the right side up. So this is my exterior. Doesn't matter which way my zipper is headed because they both look the same. I'm just going to take off, and this is where I start having trouble with double-sided tape, getting the paper to come off and getting it to go the right way without sticking on everything. So the first thing I do is I center that zipper. Once I see it centered on my panel, then I just lift it up and slide it under. I want my vinyl to be about 1/4 of an inch away from my zipper teeth. That's the placement I want. So I'm going to go slow and start pushing down once I get it in the proper placement. Then I take one of my pieces of jelly vinyl and I put it directly on top. So I want this edge of my jelly vinyl to line up directly with that top raw edge of my clear vinyl, so it will also be about 1/4 of an inch away from my zipper teeth. If you feel like you need to put double-sided tape on that, you can. I don't feel like I need to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this directly over to my machine. I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch away all the way down that raw edge, and that will connect everything together with the clear vinyl, the jelly vinyl, and the zipper tape. Then I'm going to do another row of stitches down here at the bottom, 1/8 of an inch away from the bottom of the jelly vinyl, and that will connect the jelly vinyl to the clear vinyl once more. So I have that attached, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to repeat the same process for the other side to attach it up here. So I'll orientate my vinyl, and with this one I just need to make sure that that clear vinyl, that I'm matching everything up. So make sure you can mark your centers on your zipper and your vinyl to make sure you get it perfect, or you can eyeball it, whichever way you feel most comfortable. We're going to do the exact same thing with our other panel, our zipper tape, and our jelly vinyl strip. So now that we have the zipper attached on both sides, everything's together, I go ahead and open my zipper halfway. I'm going to fold this right sides together. I'm going to try to match up the seams right here, but sometimes it doesn't end up perfect. This one looks good. Let's see how the other one does. And I'll just put a clip here on both sides of that seam. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew along both sides from the top all the way down to the bottom. I'm not going to sew my zipper tab or this end of the zipper in that seam allowance. So for me, I'm probably going to do, I'm looking at my zipper placement, and I'll probably just do 1/4 of an inch on those, but you could do 3/8 of an inch also. Then at the bottom, I'm just going to sew straight across with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. After I sew that, then I'm going to box my corners. We turn the bag and it's done. Okay, I sewed along the two sides and down the bottom. I went ahead and trimmed my seam allowances. Like I said, since mine's raw edge, I want them trimmed a little close so to prevent as much fraying as possible. So mine are cut pretty close to the seam. And then what I'm going to do is I just put my hand in here and I start at the bottom and kind of push down, and then I'll pull my sides apart to get a really nice box corner. I'm going to put a few clips in there. I do tend to push the bottom and side seams to different, even though they're small seams, I go ahead and nest those seams to get that bulk a little bit more evened out. I'm just going to sew across the box corner on both, and you can see that's straight, and I'm just going to sew across here at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And so I'll do this on both sides. I will trim that seam allowance again, and then I'll turn this right sides out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip this inside out, and it's completely done. If you're using the TPU, it turns super easy. If you have PVC, it'll take you a little bit longer, but it'll still turn fine. You also can warm it up with a blow dryer, but just take your time with PVC and go slow, and it will come out, I promise. poke out your corners here. And the pouch is done. Super quick, super easy. I am going to go to the dollar store and buy a bunch of stuff to put in these. I'm going to make several more, and that will be little gifts I give to the young kids in my life for Easter gifts that really doesn't take a lot of time and doesn't take a lot of materials. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you to Lauren for giving me permission to make it. Thank you for Hillary for letting me make the video that I used this technique in. I'm going to have both of those linked in the description here. My zipper pull is from So Majestic, as well as my zipper tape. Jelly vinyl is from Wonder Gown Fabrics. Clear vinyl is from Zipper Valley. Fabric is from J&R Edwards, and the interfacing is from Royal Pixie. Those are the places I use the most. So that's where I got all my supplies. If you guys have any questions or anything you want me to sew in the future, just let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day sewing. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.